Okay, when I was riding the New York subway some time ago, um, they mentioned folding up baby carriers and then stowing them away, and then directly after that they said make sure that your baby is out of the carrier before you fold it. And immediately I thought to myself, the reason why they have to say that is because somebody folded their baby up in the baby carrier before they stowed it. Anyway, alright, so today I want to talk about support and resistance. Just basic visual support and resistance, right? It's one of the key cornerstones of technical analysis, whether you're talking about whether you talk about stocks, whether you talk about commodities, or you talk about Forex, any basic technical analysis is based around visual levels of support and resistance. Now you can do this, there's a fair amount of trend line use you can use here. You can, my favorite is still just a good old fashioned horizontal support and resistance is key. All right, now I think it's also important to remember here that, and this is a continuation of this training course that we've been talking about for some time. This is lesson 5. I'd encourage you to catch up on the previous ones. Now, the one thing that one has to remember about support and resistance is that you can get overwhelmed with it. They can simply be too much. And then you might even get to a situation where you're worried about every single little level. Alright? And I don't want to do that to you. Alright? Because you can get too microscopic, you can get too granular with it, and really you can really hurt yourself with seeing too many different levels. Alright? But I want to define today bounce levels versus levels that are prospectively reversal levels. In other words, when would one anticipate price completely changing direction versus, okay, well, what do we expect a bounce point at? Alright, so I'd like to start at a weekly chart and then move our way in. So then the next question is, do I define support and resistance with candle bodies or wicks, or how does that work? All right, and I know that there are many very good analysts out there with rules for this. My rule is, and as it is with all technical analysis, is that to me one's best recourse is simply what visually makes sense to you. All right. In other words, a healthy combination of both bodies and wicks, because what is instinctive to you is going to be instinctive to others, and technical analysis is all about the sort of collective science of what everybody's looking at. That's what makes it work. All right. So, in other words, if we looked at this weekly chart, area support and resistance that has brought about a major turning point in the market, I consider that major support and resistance. Okay, and this is nothing more than sort of key visual levels here that has represented major tops and major bottoms in the market. Now, when you're dealing with a weekly chart, don't worry so much about a specific number. I cannot stress this enough. I really think that one should look at this as a range of price. All right, so if we're just looking at this chart, we drag it line to the bottom, 120, the figure is important. All right, and then we take another line and we can sort of take it up to the top here and we look at 140 as important. Why? Because that's swing highs, swing lows. Swing highs, yes, it was breached and handsomely breached. Even here, it wicked way above it, but notice how the candles closed below it. I still consider that a hold of the support and resistance area. All right, and then where where would the next major level be? Probably down here at sort of 126. Okay, why would that be? Well, support, resistance, support. The one key thing about support and resistance is its sort of role reversal capabilities, right? If it's broken resistance, it'll now become support, etc. All right. So what I like to do on the weekly chart is just define major areas of support and resistance. In other words, these are zones coupled with other things that I would expect turning points. In other words, I would expect reversals potentially in price. In other words, I would watch short-term support and resistance around these levels for rollover, for change in price. All right. So then I'll go from a weekly to a daily chart. Okay. And really do the same sort of thing. Now, we don't want too many lines here, remember. Okay, so where would our next obvious level be? Swing low, swing low, swing high, swing low, swing low. Notice how, even though it's breached, I'm counting these areas as holds. All right? And you remember from our previous lesson, we know that this is a 382, 50% of this entire rise also around this area. So this is likely to act like a magnet for price here. Okay? So our visual level of support is at 2870. Okay, this is interesting since 2883 is also the weekly S1. So it just adds another level of support there. Alright, we talked about pivots yesterday. Okay, so now where would our next level of resistance be? Okay, and if we just look to the left here, swing high, swing high, swing high, swing high, swing lows, and that is at the 3140 level. Okay, so if we now zoom in, this is obviously a key zone here, going look to the left that we're at, not to mention these swing lows, alright, but if you remember, based on our fib lesson yesterday, I'm short here, by the way. I'm anticipating us dropping down to the next visual level of support. However, if we break this, notice how we've made swing fib. This ties into our lesson yesterday. Swing fib, swing fib, swing fib. And this would be our next swing fib. If we break that, we're going to have a double bottom, breach of that little swing fib area. Euro's on its way up here to the next level of resistance, which we've established to be 3140. Okay, another 100 pips higher from where it is. Okay, so switching it to the 4 hour, we just simply doing the same thing here. Where's the next level of resistance? Okay, 3260. We can see without cluttering our charts up that this 30.5 level is important. Okay, but that would have given us a break. It would have given us a double bottom and a break of the swing fib red zone. If you remember this discussion from yesterday, and I encourage you to go back. So here would be our swing fib red zone right where we are now. Okay, if we break that, that's going to make a double bottom, break of the resistance above 130. Chances are we're off to the next level of resistance. Where would that be? 3140 based on the visual. Alright, so that would simply mean then that we would look for sort of something like this, wouldn't we? Okay, but until we've done that, this is still bearish given the prevailing trend, despite the little double bottom high low. Alright, now we go to the hourly chart. Okay, so let's say hypothetically now that we broke this 30 level, where would we then look for confluence to generate a zone by which to buy from? Well, we'd take this fib for starters of this level. Then we'd look to the left and you'd notice swing high, swing high, swing high, swing high, swing low, swing low, swing low, swing low. This 30-30 level looks pretty important. Price has been bought there and sold there for the last 24 hours. So if we had a price action change to the upside, a break of resistance, break. Then one would say, right, break of resistance, price is now directionally heading up. I'm going to look for support to buy it. Sorry for rough writing out with my mouse. Support to buy it. Where would my support be? Well, 30-30 would be the 50% of this ride visually, as well as this previous range of support going back at. And you can see just what it's meant. Alright, it's nothing more than a visual level. Support. Resistance, 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 support, support. You tie that in with your change of price action direction, and you have yourself a level by which to buy, and then where are you targeting? Well, we know, visually speaking, from going back to the longer term, that 3140 is the next key level of resistance. Alright, now 3100 is the weekly central pivot, 3110, 3106 is R2. So basically split the difference between that 3140 and that weekly central daily pivot overlap, and you're talking about 3120 as a target. Okay, and really this is just how I use support and resistance. I use general price action, then I use major turning points and bounce points on the longer term charts, and then tie that in, to what we're doing on the shorter term price action, and try to work out confluence between the pivots, support and resistance, direction, and we're going to talk about time of day too moving forward. But that is basic support and resistance, guys. If there are any questions, please, you can email me at david@fxbootcamp.com. I've given you a very brief description of support and resistance here. Or you can ping me at Forex David on the twit. Alternatively, have a fantastic non-farm payroll and ECB rate decision.